SpaceX's Starship will need a lot of fuel to be able to get to Mars, and storing enough of it may be a big challenge. Musk's plans to tackle this by setting up starships that store fuel in orbit. However, the process of getting enough fuel up to the stations is quite complicated. What if Elon Musk decides to switch from rocket propellant to solar sails for the Starship to make it go insanely faster? Join us as we explore how solar sails can propel the Starship to Mars. Musk, ever a dreamer, is still actively pursuing his goal of moving people en masse from the Earth to Mars. He is doing this to provide a survival option for the human race in case of a catastrophe. According to his calculations, he can move 1 million people to Mars by 2050 for a viable self-sustaining community. The challenges are enormous. The cost to consider as space exploration comes at an exorbitant cost. For example, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, spends up to $2 billion on a single mission and takes years to prepare. For Musk's mass migration to Mars plan to work, he is scheming of ways to bring down the cost by a large order of magnitude. He is targeting making it possible to fund your relocation to Mars by selling your family house, for example. Musk intends to achieve this through the use of reusable rockets. NASA has traditionally been discarding rockets after each mission, partly responsible for the high bill it runs up. The Starship, however, is fully reusable at both the upper and lower stages, eliminating the need to build a new spaceship each time a fresh batch of Earthlings take off to Mars. They would be capable of more than 1,000 flights each, just like airplanes. Costs, though crucial, is but only one aspect of going to Mars or any other planet. The technical challenge of actually building a vehicle that can reach Mars is very complex. Take, for instance, the fuel needed to power the Starship to Mars. The shortest distance between the two planets is 33.9 million miles, but that happens occasionally. For context, here is how long it has taken spacecraft to get to Mars in the past. The Mariner 4, the very first spacecraft to do so, took 228 days in 1965 but did a flyby. The Mariner 6 did a lot better with 155 days for another flyby 4 years later. The next Mariner spent 128 days en route the same year, the shortest on record. The first American spacecraft, the Viking 1, cruised for 304 days to reach Mars, while the Viking 2 took 333 days, a few days short of a whole year. More recently, the Mars Odyssey took a total of 200 days to reach Mars in 2001, while the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter spent 210 days. The Mars Science Laboratory arrived at 254 days in 2011, but the latest arrival on Mars, the Perseverance, persevered for 7 months en route, covering a total of 293 million miles. And it departed at an insane 24,600 miles per hour. Bear in mind that cargo-bearing starships are making the trips ahead of humans so Mars can be more inhabitable when they turn up. That's a lot of weight to blast to and move through space. In fact, each Starship can lift up to 100 meganewtons to load Earth orbit. Starship uses a different kind of fuel named. It seems the text is cut off after the mention of the type of fuel used by the Starship. If there's any specific information you're looking for about the fuel, or if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. Sure, here is the revised text with proper punctuation. Methylox, that is, methane plus oxygen, is going to need lots of it. Apart from the huge amount of fuel required, fueling up the Starship is going to be a logistic challenge. Complicating things is that each Starship needs tremendous amounts of fuel to escape the Earth's gravitational pull, and its fuel will be far spent by the time it reaches the Earth's orbit. In fact, Musk said that you have to refuel after the escape, else you won't have enough fuel to go anywhere in space, much less to Mars. The process of refueling requires juggling up to 5 other Starships acting as fuel tankers that are waiting in space. Don't forget that each of these Starship fuel tankers need to escape gravity on their own. Lots of effort required there. What if Musk decides to change things up and use another method of propulsion for Starship? There is a method of moving a spacecraft through space that does not involve burning a propellant or going nuclear. It is the use of solar sails, and it could work for the Starship. Musk's spacecraft will basically use the energy from the sun to move away from the sun. It works like this. Have you ever noticed boats moving on water when the wind pushes the sails attached to the boats? It is the same principle here. Attach sails big enough to the Starship, and photons from the sun will hit the sails, driving the Starship forward. Photons do not possess mass, but their high speed gives them momentum which can move the objects they strike. This means theoretically, if the sails in the Starship have enough surface area, they will move the Starship forward. How big would the sails have to be to work for the Starship? We're talking of sizes in the magnitude of football pitches. Everything is large where the Starship is concerned, but as long as it is large enough, the Starship will move towards Mars. Solar sails are particularly great as they are more environmentally friendly for anybody that is concerned with preserving the environment out there in space. With solar sails, it is easy to steer the Starship as it is similar to how boats are steered with sails. Simply alter the positioning or angles of the sails, and the Starship will go in the direction you want. Steering spacecraft en route is a necessity to ensure it will arrive at their intended destinations, and to ensure they remain in communication with the command center on Earth. As the Starship moves further away from the sun, fewer photons will strike the sails, meaning less speed. But that can be remedied by using laser beams. They produce photons too, and all SpaceX has to do is to direct the lasers at the sails of the Starship to keep it moving. The laser can be sent from basically anywhere in the universe. You could do it from here on Earth or the Moon. So with solar sails, the Starship will never run out of fuel. In terms of speed, the Starship outfitted with solar sails will move very fast. Solar sails have a maximum speed that is 10% of the speed of light, which is equivalent to 18,600 miles per second or 67,100,000 miles per hour. The Starship might not be able to achieve that insane speed due to its weight, but it will certainly move very fast. It is noteworthy that Bill Nye, the popular American science dude, specifically mentioned Mars when touting the advantages of solar sails. He said the technology could help deliver cargo to Mars one day. Interestingly, the predecessor of the Starship has been involved in projects involving solar sails. The Planetary Society, started by the space superstar Carl Sagan and now headed by Bill Nye. His former student spearheaded the effort to put the LightSail 2, the first spacecraft in orbit to be propelled solely by solar sails. SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket was tapped to launch another spacecraft, the Prox-1, that carried the LightSail 2. After separating, the Prox-1 then launched the LightSail 2 into orbit. Musk described the launch as the most complicated ever for his company up to that point. The LightSail 2 was basically a demonstration spacecraft. It is the size of a loaf of bread and weighs about 11 pounds. When completely unfurled, the LightSail 2 sails measure 344 square feet in surface area. The sails are made of tough, tear-resistant material named mylar and are coated with highly reflective materials. They are thinner than a strand of hair on your head. The LightSail 2 has components that let it detect where the sun's rays are the strongest and takes advantage of them. It is now flying in a circular orbit of 447 miles around the Earth. The project cost $7 million and was supported mostly by crowdsourcing on Kickstarter. Bill Nye dreams of solar sails going to other planets and stars. If Musk was paying any attention during